Well, good morning YouTube, and welcome back to Retired for Life. So we've got a little bit of haying in between the rain, but they're threatening rain again today. And of course, got to wait for the dew to dry off. So I'm processing some logs as pretty much as quickly as I can here to keep moving forward on a couple of fronts. So we'll see how well that works. Let's get some of these things set up and do some cutting. I'll show you what it is I'm working on. So this is the building I've talked about a couple of times. I need to replace this former chicken coop. I mean, it was here and in bad shape when we got here 20 plus years ago, and now it's just ridiculous. I did put one beam inside of it to hold it up so I could still use it, but I don't think it's going to stay up much longer. I got to make sure I've got anything out of there that's of any value for this coming winter, because I don't suspect it will be up by the spring. So what I'm doing is planning to replace it with a new building that is going to be roughly the same size as my drying tent here. So it'll be about 24 feet long and about 12 feet deep. And that will allow me to stack up more lumber. But I want it to be good and sturdy. So to do that, I'm going to be using 6x6s for the main posts for it. Front, back, and center kind of thing. So these actually measure 5 5/8 in order to properly fit into the brackets that are used for this kind of post. So we're going to get a bunch of them cut, and then I need to finish cutting my curbs as well for around the driveway, and they measure 7 by 10. So I'm going through logs pretty quickly doing that. I have a bunch of small logs. As you see, this one is pretty small, and it's ideal for that kind of stuff. I did buy this tow board from Woodland Mills. Seems a little bit extravagant because it was a bit expensive, but it works great, and it's all stainless steel, so I can just leave it on the mill. This is something that I use for standard sizes. I find this really quick. I've got gauge blocks. Now, this is my 5 5/8 gauge block because that's the size that I'm cutting here. So I've got 1 inch, I've got 1.5 inches, I've got 2, 3, 4 inch, and 6 inch gauge blocks, and it makes it so quick and easy to check your size. I sit this on the top of the blade or up against the bottom of the blade, and then adjust my saw till I feel it's level with where I want on the log, on the cant, and it really works very well. It's something I highly recommend. So I'm not fooling around with moving gauges and all that kind of stuff on the rules that came with it. So I find this very fast, very simple. If you've got this kind of mill and you're dealing with these kind of rulers, the magnetic rulers, that's something I would highly recommend. I don't have a digital readout, and I don't want to spend the money on one. All right, we'll get the mill up and running, listen to a little bit of music, and away we go. Well, there's our first 6x6. 9, 10. I've got 2 more to go, and then I'm going to cut an extra just in case. Well, we'll get the tractor running, pick through my pile here, and see if I can find a few more logs for this. One nice thing about the bigger pieces, like these 6x6s I'm cutting, knots isn't too much of an issue. A lot of my logs, being a smaller diameter, come from much higher up in the tree, so there is generally a fair bit of knots in them from the branches. And the ones that I'm cutting up right now are generally from very close to the top of the tree, where there are lots of branches. But when you're cutting a timber as big as 6x6, some knots in it is not going to make any difference at all. Where if you were doing a 2x4, those knots could render the 2x4 useless, just make them too weak, because they would break right at the knots. So it's been handy to need this size to be able to use up these treetop logs for it, because they're not going to come apart at that size. All right, let's get you guys back in the shade, and then I'm going to get tractor running and get 2 more of these things cut up. So this is what I mean by logs not being so great from the tops of the trees. You can see this one is a twisted up, gnarly thing. I've got it up on the toe board there to take up some of the space. It's got more knots in it than who knows what, and it would be pretty much useless for anything in the way of 2x6s or 2x4s or anything like that. But as a 6x6, it's still going to be a good, strong piece of lumber. Well, guys, we got a call from Art. So I shut the mill down and got it closed up. And we're about to start raking here. Art's back in one of the other fields. So I've just come in. We're going to get the rake set up and get moving. Nice big field, so we'll get this going. Well, guys, it is hot. Yeah, when I turn and am driving into the sun, I can really feel it. Holy mackerel. But we're making progress. So we're getting some pretty nice looking windrows. I've been at this for, maybe an hour or so, and I'm about halfway. This is, you know, like all the fields around here, there's all sorts of rock islands and stuff all over the place. So there's a lot of circling you've got to do to go around that and get your hay up away from the corners of the islands and things to make it easier for the baler to come in. But this is working out pretty good. I'm getting used to it now. This is my 3rd year of doing this with Art. And it's always quite interesting to do. But right now, we're stashed away back here in the shade. We're gonna have a drink and cool off, and then get back at it. Well, guys, it's been a real roast and boast kind of day. But I got a few more posts cut. Went down to Art's. We went out and did 2 really good sized fields. He had them cut yesterday and I raked. But it's getting close to the end of the day. And we've now got a lot of thunder going on. So Art's got to get in his big tractor and head out to the fields I just raked and get them baled really quick. I don't know how long this is going to hold off. Hopefully long enough. I can hear it rumbling out there. But for me, it's rest time, thank goodness. The Art's big tractor has got air conditioning, but obviously, the tractor I'm driving, no AC. It gets pretty hot out there sometimes. And today was one of those days. That back field, there is no wind that gets down in there. And you get the sun beating down in it like it was today. And it just turns it into a broiler. And that was really something. But it's done. That's the important thing. Art can now get that baled up. And we'll see what happens with the weather. We may get some rain for the next few days by the looks of things. Now, we need the rain, so I can't complain about that. And that's just going to allow me to get on with other stuff here too. So, that is going to be it for today's video, guys. Thanks very much for watching. And if you've been finding these videos interesting, or at least a bit entertaining, I'd really like to have you like the video, and I'd love to have you subscribe to the channel. So thanks very much for watching, guys, and we'll see you out on the trails the next time.